everyone, it's Eel of the World. Today's video is going to be on cosplay photo shoots and how to stay safe while doing them. The reason why I'm dressed like Velma for this video is because I always get a lot of attention when I'm dressed as Velma, and I want this video to get a lot of attention too. It's a very important topic in my opinion, and I want as many new and even existing cosplayers to see it as possible because I really feel like this can help them. With that being said, please share this as well, especially if you've got some new cosplay friends. I feel like this will be really helpful for them. When I firstly started cosplaying, the thing that tripped me up the most was the actual photos and getting pictures of my cosplayers. I wasn't someone that knew a lot of people. I didn't have like a big friendship network or anything, so I didn't have a lot of people to go and do it with. It's only recently in this years that I've actually have proper cosplay friends that I do things with. So if that's you, you're not alone. You will eventually get around it. I don't know why, but when you Google this, or at least when I did, when I was starting out first of all and getting into doing it more professionally, I just couldn't fathom the photo shoot thing. There was no information on it, there was no helpful guides on it, and I don't know why, because it's really simple, and I think I was just a very nervous person. If you're nervous, if you're anxious, if you're shy, this is also going to really help you because I speak from experience with all of the things I'm about to tell you. The first thing you're going to need to do is to pick your character. Once you've picked your character, I would recommend making a list of all of the things that your character wears when you're going to be them. So for example, for Velma, I would make a list of my wig, the jumper, the skirt, the knee-high socks, the red high heels, the glasses, but also things like the lipstick in case my lipstick comes off during the shoot and I need to touch it up. Eyelash glue, for example, if one of my false eyelashes decides to peel off mid-shoot, which has happened plenty of times before. It's very important to also make a list of the makeup as well as the actual cosplay itself. The other things you're going to need to bring are things like a bottle of water. No matter how far the photo shoot is from your house, you're going to 100% need a bottle of water. You will be thirsty and you will get dehydrated and you will wish you brought one if you didn't. The second thing I'd recommend bringing is a coat, especially if it's in a cold climate like England, for example, where it gets cold all of the time. I would recommend bringing a nice warm coat just because you will regret not bringing it. It's good for traveling, because if you don't want to show your cosplay off to everyone, especially if it's a revealing one, you can just put your coat on top, go to the shoot, put your coat back on, go home, and then no one will have to look at your cosplay while you're traveling. It's also good because if it's a very cold climate, you don't want to get cold. So for example, you could take a few pictures, put your coat on, look at the pictures, decide what you're going to do, then take it off and start again. You'll be a lot more comfortable that way. Please trust me when I say if you're cold and if you're uncomfortable, it will show on your face as the pictures are being taken. The next thing I would always recommend bringing is some kind of sugary snack. So even if it's just some fruit or a snack bar, something with sugary, even if it's a sugary drink, that's really good as well. If you're running about and taking all these different poses, you're going to need to keep your energy up, so it's really important that you do bring something with you. I say these three things to you for a reason. If you look at the screen now, this is a picture of me dressed as Artoria from Fate's Day Night, and this image was taken right before I fainted. So this was really cold. It was mid-January and I was just wearing that, and it was only a couple of stops from where I was staying, so I didn't think about bringing a coat because we were right there, and I didn't bring a water and I didn't bring a snack. So I eventually just got too cold, I got dehydrated, and then I didn't have any sugar to keep me awake, and I just collapsed. So it does happen, and I was with my boyfriend and a friend. The photographer was a very good friend of ours, so luckily I was in safe hands. But just think, imagine if I didn't know them that well, that could have been a whole different scenario. This will bring us on to the next point of choosing your photographer. If this is your first ever cosplay photo shoot and you haven't really done many in the past, and it's mainly just been you taking the pictures of yourself, for the first one, I would probably say don't go with a professional photographer or someone you found, go with someone you know. This is especially good if you're quite nervous, because if you're uncomfortable and if you're nervous, it will definitely show on your face. It's a lot harder to pose in front of someone you don't really know too well. That's why I would always recommend for the first couple of ones that you do it with someone you know. I would say it's better to do this because then that way you don't have to focus on like getting them 100% right, because that is like kind of a pressure that comes with it. You can just focus on posing, having fun, and then that will show in your pictures like how comfortable you are, and they'll look a billion times better. But if you want to go and really up your game and really get like a professional involved, it's time to pick your professional. Now, I have been informed that in other countries this is kind of a bit different, but this is how I do it here in the UK. If you're from another country, let me know like what your procedure is, because I'm just interested how they differ. Normally for me, I get approached by the photographer and then I confirm or deny whether I want to work with them or not. The alternative to doing that and just waiting for them to come to you is to go to them. The easiest way to find the photographer is to go onto Instagram and look for a photographer whose work you like the look of. Maybe just message them and say, hi, I really like your work. I'm really interested in working with you. What are your terms? Like, how do you normally do this? Because it's really important that you find that out. A lot of photographers do charge for you to go and shoot with them. A lot of them will come to you and they'll want you to do it with them for free. But also there are a lot of photographers that are also kind of like building up their portfolio and will want to do it for free and will not charge you. So I would always recommend doing it through word of mouth, because if it's someone that you know who's worked with them, they can kind of vouch for that they're a good photographer and their understanding. Also, if you're looking and you see it, I would recommend to just check out their profile before you do anything. So especially if one messages you, I would personally look at their profile. Does it look legit? So like, have they taken all of these pictures from Google and just like put them on there, or did they actually take them? It's usually really easy to tell. It's also easy to tell from like the follower number. If they have like a bazillion followers and then like one like on each post, like it's probably not real. Also think about the type of cosplay photos that you want. Like if you go onto their page and all of the pictures are like of scantily clad women, think, is this the kind of thing that you're shooting? Now obviously this isn't with everyone, but like with a lot of photographers, if that's kind of all they post, that's kind of all they want to really take pictures of. So really get a feel for their style. Don't do anything you're uncomfortable with. Be safe, just really check them out. Even get your friends and be like, look, I found this guy, like I really want him to or her to take my pictures. Could you just have a look and see what you think of their account? And then like at least more people have looked at it. I would also recommend maybe trying to find a female photographer. Now this is quite hard to do because there really isn't that many, and it would be awesome if there was more, but the sad reality is there really isn't any at all. I say this on the level of girl to girl, it's a lot easier to pose in front of another woman than it is to pose in front of a man. Maybe this is different for men, like I don't know if maybe they experience like the opposite thing if like a girl is taking a picture of them, but personally I can just kind of relax a lot more if the person I don't know is a girl, if that makes sense. So I would definitely recommend like looking for female photographers. So now you've got your cosplay, you've got all the things for the cosplay, you've got your photographer, now you need to choose your location. But before you do that, there is one thing you need to always do that I will never let anyone sway my mind with. Bring a chaperone. Now, a chaperone is basically just the name for someone who just comes with you. You might have heard this term in like hospitals, because sometimes like if you're having a procedure done, you can ask for a chaperone, which is like another nurse or something that comes and sits with you. Or in this case, it would be someone you're bringing with you. By bring someone, it doesn't mean just bring any old person. I would recommend bringing someone you trust. Like don't bring someone who's a bit of a flake and might like get bored and wander off, because like that does happen with some people. Bring someone that you know is going to stay around and like stay with you for the whole thing, is reliable, so like if something happens, like their eyes are on it too. Like just bring a sensible person, and bring someone, and this is a tip if you're a girl, bring someone that's a bit intimidating along with you. For me personally, and I have no shame in saying this, I always bring my boyfriend. If they have a problem with it, I just simply won't do the shoot with them. And this goes for everyone. If a photographer has a problem with you bringing a chaperone with you, don't work with the photographer. It is too big of a risk, and as a photographer that they should understand that people are not going to feel comfortable meeting them for the first time and just going off with them randomly somewhere. That is my biggest warning tip to you guys. If the photographer has a problem with you bringing a chaperone, don't do the shoot. You have a few options of where you can do this. You can either look at the character and try and pick somewhere kind of that would fit the theme of the character. So maybe like if you're doing someone from Genshin, like find like a cool castle and like with walls and like something cool, and you can stand in front of like the rocky walls, nice open landscape, somewhere like that. If you're doing a swimwear photo shoot, go to the beach, like go to somewhere like that and like really match it to the costume. But I would say if you're unsure and you don't really know, I would recommend doing your photo shoot at the con. This is especially good if you're nervous, because when you're doing cosplay photo shoots out and about, it's really easy for you as the model, for your eyes to kind of wander onto other people and what they're doing and if they're looking at you, and then you can start to feel self-conscious, and then it's really, really difficult. When you're at a convention, everyone is doing photo shoots, everyone is dressed up, there are photographers everywhere, so it's really like less of a thing because everyone around you is doing it, so you don't really focus on how people are looking at you so much. It's also the safest option because there's almost always, I've never been to a con with no security, so like there's always security around, there's always like loads of people around, like God forbid something happened, like that you've got a bunch of witnesses all around you, so everything's good like that. The one place I would recommend not going is in the middle of nowhere. Now this sounds really obvious, but it really isn't. So it could be somewhere like you want a forest photo shoot, like I don't know, you're Joyce and Hopper, you want in the forest, trees all around you. Does that forest have signal? I know most people go into the mode of like, oh my god, the photographer could do something, which like sadly does happen to a lot of people, which is why you need to stay safe, but it's a lot more than that. It's also if you have no phone signal in the forest, and say for example you're like a small girl like me and the photographer's like a tall man, imagine he collapses or like something happens to him. What are you gonna do when he's like that? Probably nothing. That's why it's so important to have phone signal, because you need to be able to call the emergency services for help if you see like a fire or something. Like you just need phone signal. This sounds really self-explanatory again, but like it's very easy to overlook this, so I do understand like why people don't think of it. I would also of course recommend staying away from zones that are kind of blocked off. This also goes for abandoned buildings. Like a lot of people do abandoned building photo shoots, and that's fine if the photographer's used to abandoned buildings and does it all the time and that's his thing. But with these places like that, they're usually abandoned for a reason, and they usually have no one in them for a reason. Like you don't know A, who you're going to encounter in there, and B, if it's unsteady, it could like fall down, it could hurt you. This is also for like cornered off places as well. Like you might think it's fine to just go in and like take a few snaps and then come out, which most likely will be fine, but like it could be for a reason. Like there could be something dangerous in there, so don't put your life at risk for the sake of like a picture. Like it's really just not worth it. To know that if you are taking these pictures with the intent of selling them on, for example making cosplay prints or making a cosplay calendar, that you make this explicitly clear to the photographer before you do the shoot. Some photographers will be fine with this and they'll just let you go for it. Some photographers might ask for like a chunk of money, either an upfront sum of money or a cut from the proceeds that you make, or they might just say no to you altogether, and that's why it's very important that you actually tell them what your plans are before you do it. Whatever your opinion is on this, and I know it divides a lot of people, a photographer usually has more rights than the model themselves, so that is just something to keep in mind. You don't want to get yourself into any legal trouble. At the end of the day, a photographer's photographs is their artwork, the same way as you doing cosplay is your artwork, so it's very important that both artists are in the loop of what's going on. Likewise though, this is a thing I really don't see talked about enough, that photographer should not then have the power to post whatever they want of you. Like if you are uncomfortable with the picture they take, tell them and tell them not to post it. Like, I've done this before, and if they're a decent person, they'll just say, okay, no worries. Even if it's like the picture's good and they really like it, but like you just don't like how you look in it, you're more within your right to like ask them to get rid of it. Like, it is fine. I would just always recommend telling them beforehand, like, hi, I really want to just look at the pictures before you post them, and then they'll kind of know that you want to like really be involved in that kind of way. The last thing I really want to touch upon before we go away from this video is the safety with the photographer themselves. I just feel like this has become so normalized because like a lot of cosplayers at the moment are doing quite like scantily clad photo shoots, which is 100% fine if that's what they want to do, and if that's what they're comfortable with, more power to them, because that's amazing. But it's becoming into a way where like people feel that that's all they have to do and they can't cosplay like modestly, and then they feel kind of pressured into doing it, which is the thing I think we need to really avoid. Only do things you're comfortable with. You don't have to dress in a certain way or do certain things. This point was really hard for me to convey in the video, so I'm just doing this little voiceover so you can understand what I'm saying a bit better. If a photographer is coming up to you and they're suggesting these kinds of styles and these kinds of poses when they can clearly see on your page that you've never done anything like that before, I would recommend just not doing it. Doing things like this should be your choice and your decision, and you shouldn't feel pressured into it no matter how many likes they're saying you're gonna get from doing it. This is something you should decide on your own terms without being pressured into it, and do it when you feel comfortable, if you feel comfortable. There is no shame in not doing it, and there is no shame in doing it, but just make sure the ultimate decision is your choice. I don't say this with the intention of like scaring anyone. I just think it's something that you kind of need to be aware of before going into it. If you get any dodgy vibes beforehand, like leading up to it, if you just feel like something's off, just don't go. Just tell them you can't go, because usually your gut instinct is there to like help you. So like don't give everyone the benefit of the doubt of like, oh, you're overreacting or you're overthinking, because that's really, really easy to do, and I do that all the time. You really have to listen. Like if you're getting those like weird dodgy feelings, just don't do it. Especially if you're serious about this and you're really serious about getting like really good pictures of yourself, you 100% have to take this into consideration, because like no one will do it for you, so you just have to do it yourself. Another thing with the photographers, if your chaperone is like maybe like another young girl your same age, and it's just like a male photographer and he's like, maybe you should come in my car and like I'll drive you to the place, like reconsider things like that, because again, like you'll think, oh, he's just taking us to the location. Think. Use your noodle. Think about that. The last thing is just to have fun. You want pictures that you're gonna look back at the end and be like, wow, I had such a great time. This was a great first experience, and not, oh, I was feeling a bit uncomfortable. I didn't really like that. So you really need them to look good for that sake as well. Anyway, these are my top tips for staying safe when doing cosplay photo shoots. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have any advice that you would like to give to new starting cosplayers, please comment them below. I'm sure they would love to hear it. That's all I really have to say for the end of this video. So if you enjoyed it, please leave a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I do take video requests as well, so if there's a cosplay thing you want me to make a video on, please let me know and I'll try and do that for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!